Hello everyone, this is Mr. E today, and this is going to be part of our third lesson. Today we are talking about meter. Let me correct that real quick here. Get used to this. Kami system here. I'm going to give you guys the options to do your homework with Kami. At some point, I have a 90-day free trial. It's like 85 now, something like that. But it is an ability to write in PDF. So if you have a tablet or if you have some type of motion screen, you can write directly into documents through this. You can also turn in your assignment. It's going to look like this save button over here is what it's going to look like on your end when you turn in an assignment through Schoology with Kami. I'll send another tutorial on that at some point. But today, as I said, we're going to be talking about, it lets you write in, this right here is the stroke thickness. We're going to be talking about meter. Meter. And sorry, my handwriting's terrible. I have a screenwriting pad for my computer here that I'm using. So, meter. The big component for today. So, in music, we have beats. So, if I was going to make a tempo real quick to put it kind of like our rap thing, our rap assignment there, we had 16 beats. So I'm going to draw just a line to represent these beats real quick. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Also, I encourage you to actually write these notes down while I do it. So these are going to be our beats. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Where do you think it is? Dut, 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 dut. Now, in most music, we have strong and weak beats. In our rap example, the first beat of 4 were that. So I'm going to circle the strong beats now. So it was dut, 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 dut. Now, with that, in music, we actually use, I know it's going to look like a lot of lines here, but I'm going to make these a little longer. We break these in bar lines. In bar lines, if you imagine this was on a staff, just going to draw a single line. That's our staff line. If we had a staff, there would be a big line here, a big line here, a big line here, a big line here, and a big line here, setting all that up. And so we have 4 beats per measure. So this is where the idea of meter kind of building it came from. But they wanted to define more about the length of the note. So that gets us to our time signature, which defines our meter. So we have time signatures. And you can think of this as just like you write your signature to leave your mark, the time signature kind of lets you know the identity of the meter that is happening. It is comprised of 2 numbers. They look like a fraction, but there's no number in between them. The most common time signature is 4. It'll look like this. 4. Just 2 4s stacked on top of each other. Now these 2 numbers mean 2 different things. The top number is how many beats in each measure. Or as I like to put, how many. And the bottom one, which we're going to more is which kind. We haven't talked about the different type of notes yet in accordance to time, but we're about to do that. But we're just going to talk about it in the realm of the time signature today. We're not going to talk about that in the realm of how many beats or half a beat, or if this is a quarter of a beat, or if this is 2 beats. Some of you might know that. Some of you might not know this at this point, but we will delve into that a little bit later. But we are going to be talking about note kinds today. So the first note kind I want to talk about is the one we're going to see the most as percussionists, and it's the quarter note. What are the most? The quarter note is a filled in head, and then it's a stem going up. When you're thinking about notes also, the stem can also go down, but the stem goes up on the right and it goes down on the left. I draw my quarter notes slightly slanted instead of just, you might also see it as like a big dot like this. And that is perfectly fine to do it that way. I tend to find it looks messier on staff paper, but you can do it with a little bit of a slant like me, where it's slanting up to the right. That also informs you where the note head is, because it's much easier to think, oh, this could go on any side. While if it's slanted, you know that if the stem's going to go down here and up here. So any of those ways, I'm going to erase that last example there explaining that. But so you get the quarter note. That's one with an up stem. That's one with the down stem. Same note. In our number system for the time signature, if you remember the other one, the bottom number this one represents is 4. This doesn't make complete sense yet. It should make a little bit better sense later, but I'm just going to go through every single note value you can. Now, another note value that you could have is a half note. Again, half notes, it's a big old donut with a line on it. It always kind of looks like a ladle to me, if that makes sense, or like a serving spoon. It is represented by the number 2. I'm going to put the names here. So quarter note, as in 1 quarter or 1/4. So if you think of that also, a quarter is 1/4, 4 on the bottom, just like with fractions. This is a half note. If you think of it in the sense half, if you have a half of something, you have 1/2, 2's on the bottom. Next note we're going to talk about is a whole note. Whole note, big old donut. It is represented by a 1. If you think you have a whole thing, you have 1 of something. Now, these are 3 that you're going to see these 2. You're not going to see this one much for common meters. I'll talk about common meters right at the end of this, but this is going to be pretty uncommon to see. That's uncommon if you can't read that. We'll just try our best. Next note we're going to be looking at our graph is the 8th note. 8th note looks like a quarter note, but it has a little flag on it. And you can draw that like mine. So I tend to do it. Or you can do it like this. Either one's fine with me. I would like a curve in it. I don't want to see that. I want to see this or that. I want to see a curve in, or I want to see a curve away like this, but I don't want like an L shape. Don't do that. But anyway, 8th note. If you think about it, 8th note, an 8th note, 8, it's going to have an 8 at the bottom. And then we have 2 more. They're very similar. So the next one we have is a 16th note. It has 2 flags on it. 2 flags. And you think a 16th note, you get 16. Hopefully my handwriting is a little bit better with my tablet here, but otherwise I think it's mostly readable. And then the last one that we're going to talk about, there's more you could do, but these are the ones that you're going to see the most, is a 30-second note. And if you think about it, so a quarter note, we doubled this, or we can have that to think if that's a quarter of 4, half of that will be an eighth, one flag, half of that would be a 16th of something, and then half of this would be a 30-second note. Don't worry too much about the ratios right now. What we're worried about right now is just this correspondence. We're thinking quarter note gets a 4 on the bottom. Half note, how many half notes are in the meter? How many whole notes are in the meter? How many eighth notes are in the meter? How many 16th notes are in the meter? 30-second note, we'll have a 32 on the bottom. This one's also very rare to see. This one's more common than these two, than a whole note or a 30-second note, but 30-second note is pretty uncommon. And I'm going to write out 30-second for y'all. 30-second note. Okay, so this is our reference for what kind. If you're following at home, please write this down. I'm going to make a little bit better looking chart of this also, and I'll post it in our references. So let's build some of these. So as I said, we're going to do our classic staff here for percussion, which is just one line for non-pitched instruments. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Maybe you'll know someday. I'll try to make those as straight as possible. Wait, do I have a roller function on this? No, I do not. Right, let's see my shapes. Oh, I do have a straight line function. Cool. So I'm going to redo those for y'all because that looks terrible. Straight line. And then we'll just do straight line. We'll do another straight line. Okay. So knowing this top information up here and knowing the top number means how much and how many, put that diagram. So 4, 4. How much? And how many? So, how much? What kind? How much and what kind? We're going to get to know our time signatures. So if you don't know already, I'm going to draw it for y'all. This is a non-pitch percussion clef. We're going to talk about these later, but this is the treble clef. This is the bass clef. This is a non-pitch percussion. It's just a box. So when you're thinking about snare drum or any drum set or anything like that, it's just a box. It's a box. Okay, so but next will come our time signature. So we're going to do 4, 4. Which we talked about before. So knowing for the what kind and how many, we have 4 quarter notes. So we're going to fill, this is going to be part of your assignment, you're going to fill in the beat for that time signature. And then you put a bar line at the end. So this would go 1, 2, 3, 4, or dot, 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 dot. If you're thinking about if this was a snare drum or something like that. That's what it would sound like. Next one we're going to do is I'll throw a curveball at you. 3, 4. Answer these questions like Dora the Explorer. So we have how many notes and what kind of note are we going to use? So this measure, this being a measure, it's a measurement. So this would be our first measure. The next measure would be our second measure. So 3, 4 would have, if you said 3/4 notes, give yourself a pat on the back. You got it right. 3/4 notes. These are probably the time signatures. These two are two of the most common ones we're going to go around with. Now, 4, the next one we're going to do is, wait for it, 6/8. So it's going to have 6 of some type of note, and an 8 is an 8th note if you said that correct. Now, you may have seen these barred together at some point. We will talk about that, but for today, just put that flag on there. We're gonna stick to the flag theory right now. Let me undo what I just did. There we are. See, it's getting a little bit better. No, that was terrible. I'm also going to be grading handwriting on this to the best of my ability. If you do it electronically, I'll be a little bit like fair. But if you do it by hand, I want this neat, neat, neat. All right. So, oh, I did not put the right number there before I drew that bar line. Good thing I can catch my own mistakes. 6/8. 6/8 notes. Okay. We don't have to write the clef sign again. That's my practice I do. Sometimes you will see it written again. Feel free if you want to, but I'm not going to do it today. We are going to now, we got 4/4, 3/4, 6/8. These are the most common ones you're going to see. These are the most common ones you're going to see. So this pulse is going to be dot, 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 dot. Anything you hear on the radio, this is what you're probably listening to right here. 3/4, it's going to be in 3. So dot, 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 dot. We're going to be talking in another video you're going to see in this lesson about identifying these better. And this one is 2 sets of 3. So it's dot, 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 dot. The difference between 6/8 here is that this one's a little bit stronger. This one's a little bit weaker when you're listening to 6/8. So if it sounds like 2 sets of 3 instead of just one continuous sets of 3. So this one would be usually faster and this one will also be slower. I'm not going to dock you. If you hear it as 3/4, that's fine. If you hear it as 6/8, that's fine. So we'll be talking about that. The more important idea is that you know that they are groupings of 3. Okay, let's throw some curveballs at you now. We're going to do, this is a weird number. And then we're going to give you, so we got 5, 1. You know what? I haven't been doing a very good job with this. I'm going to try to make my handwriting a little bit better. These are poor, but you really want the first number to sit on top of this line and the bottom number to sit right below it. 5, 1. So what kind of note? It's a whole note. How many? 5. And the whole note is just a circle. So we're going to get some 5 circles. If you see this, you're seeing some pretty crazy music. Usually you got a quarter note or an eighth note at the bottom. 1 at the bottom is not very common. I've seen it maybe once, and it was 3/1. Okay, so 5/1. Move on to a different meter here for practice, and we'll do 2, 2. Let you think about that for a second. So, what kind, how many? I mean, I messed that up, my bad. How many, what kind? What kind is 2, half note? How many, 2? So 2 half notes. Complete this. Now, just to throw a loop at you guys, I'm going to show you 2 clefs that came into fashion from the older method of writing these, but they got construed to mean something else along musicians, and that's what I'll be teaching you about. So, the first one is you'll sometimes just see a C. And if you see a C, it means common time. And you're probably asking, it's like, how do you know what's common? Well, if you listen to everything on the radio, it's in this time signature right over here. This is the one we're probably going to be composing most of our music in. And that is 4, 4. 4 quarter notes per measure. So let's write that in here. Won't mess that up. 4, 4. So if you see a C, it means common time. 4, 4. The other one you will see is a variation on that. You'll see a C, and it looks like the cent sign. It has a slash right through it. This is common time, but it's cut in half, also known as cut time. The difference between that is cut time is this. So it looks exactly like 4, 4, but you fill it in 2. So this one would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Or this one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But they'll look very, very similar in that sense. And that will complete our notation lesson. Have any questions, please feel free to send me a message over Schoolology. Otherwise, please read the to-do list, finish the to-do list, watch the other video about hearing certain rhythms, and besides that, you guys should be able to complete that assignment. Again, this chart, very important. Write this down. Put it somewhere, please. Write it down 3 times if it takes you that to memorize it. But as I said, I'm going to leave a chart like this in our reference section. And your homework's going to look something like this. So it's going to have these right here. Then you're just going to fill in how many beats in whatever measure it takes. You can do that over Cami here, or you can also print it off and fill it in and then take a photo of it. You could also just get a blank sheet of paper and copy down the examples by doing a bar line. So you just draw a straight line, put your time signature there, and then you just put your time. You put your clef here, you put your time signature, then write in your notes. You can keep going on, take a picture of it, send it to me. Only thing I shouldn't get from this is a Word document, unless you can figure out how to do notation in a Word document, which I haven't figured out yet. All right, you guys stay safe. Wear your mask outside, please. And hopefully we will have live class at some point. Toodaloo.